If you've been following along with my past couple of videos, I've been working on this game for the Vibe Jam, but I wanted to showcase to you something really cool here, and that is this game is now fully multiplayer. So you can see on the left-hand side is the first client or first player. And as I move around, you can see that everything is synchronized correctly. And I can just jump around and the second player is seeing exactly everything that's the same. And over here, you can see if I punch my player, and here I can slice my other player. And what you see is actually a recording of a live game that I had last night. Posted this up on Twitter and somebody joined my server and I'm able to get square. Epic battle, get the sound. And all of this is thanks to this library that I just discovered while randomly scrolling through on Twitter. And this is called Colyseus. I think that's how it's pronounced. It is a framework that allows you to be able to make your games multiplayer ready. And I must say, I've been really impressed. This is not sponsored in any way. I generally don't like to believe hype. I like to give things a try by myself. And so in today's video, I will be showing you how I managed to get my game from a single player game into a multiplayer ready game in just a couple of prompts. And I'll be showing you how I went about implementing this using a single Colyseus multiplayer skill, which I built. And you can see here, I just gave it a single prompt, and this was the plan that it came up with. And I'll say with just this first iteration, I was already able to get it working in multiplayer, and it was working really well. So if you've ever wanted to make multiplayer games that you could play with strangers or your friends on the web all over the world, this is the video for you. Now, before we get started, I just wanted to call out VibeGameDev.com. This includes regular updates as well as a list of all the agent skills that I have been working on. So for example, in today's video, the Colyseus multiplayer skill is now part of the bulk as well. It includes the full source code of projects as well as the prompts and plans for many of the projects that you might have seen in my YouTube series. If you want the resources that helps you to build games using AI, head on over to VibeGameDev.com. And now without further ado, let's get started with today's video. All right, to start off with, just a quick reminder that whatever I'm showing you here today will work with any AI tool that you're using, whether it's Claude Code, Codex, Cursor, Anti-Gravity. And the reason for that is that, as you will see later on, the agent skill that I use over here works regardless of the tool that you're using. So the first thing that I'm going to jump into is the existing game. The status that we have is that we have a gym level, which allowed me to test out all the mechanics of the game. If you want to learn more, look at my previous video where I actually talked about why this is really important. I also have a level editor that allows me to actually place stuff within the level and move things around and then set things on the tile map as well. But today's video will be really focused on how to get the single player experience. I'm just going to play it around for you. A lot of this pixel art that you see over here was taken from an asset pack, but I also went ahead and generated a bunch of things. For example, this animation for the tree that you see here was done using AI, using something called Retro Diffusion. And you will see that even though the asset pack did come with this arrow shooting animation, I generated this punching animation as well, so that we would be able to do a melee attack. But the main thing here to show you is that we have this single player game. We have 2 characters, 2 attacks, 2 different levels, and then a level editor and 1 enemy type. And you will see that there's also polish, right? So there's sound as well as things like screen shake. So let me just show you here. Can you see that there's a bit of screen shake? Maybe if I go to the gym, it's easier so you can see there's the screen shake when I attack. There's a VFX. And then obviously you heard earlier that there was sound. So this is the starting point. We have a working game over here. And the idea here was that, can I make this multiplayer? And if you worked on any multiplayer games in your life, getting a single player game working multiplayer is not always straightforward. But the great thing about this is that I discovered Colyseus, which is the framework that we'll be using today. I saw this on Twitter, just was really intrigued by what people were posting, and I thought I would need to give it a try by myself. And so that's exactly what I did. You can see here, it really works with multiple different game engines. And the main thing that we really would care about is that there's a TypeScript framework, and then we can just integrate this with our Phaser game over here. Okay. So it's open source, it's Node.js based. And the great thing about it is it's not just the gameplay itself, it actually handles matchmaking, rooms and lobbies. And I think that's everything that you need to get a game working. And just very quickly, matchmaking means if a person joins, how do you ensure that they get to play with another player? And then the rooms allow you to have different sessions going on so that if you want to play with a friend, you can say, here's my room code, jump into this version. So whenever I'm learning a new framework, the most important thing that you want to look at is you want to look at the pricing, but what you want to do is actually study the docs, right? So the docs are usually sufficient enough for you to get started to know how to integrate this with your game. And what I really like to do, I'll just show you what I did here in Codex, all right? is that I usually like to tell my AI, and you can do this with GPT 5.4, you can do this with Opus 4.7, which was just released yesterday, and effectively just give it the docs and tell it to familiarize with the framework. And I did exactly that. So I actually use both Claude as well as GPT 5.4. And I usually ask it to study the docs. Then I ask it some questions. For example, how do we deploy the server? And then I use both answers and mix them together. So this agent skill that you see over here is what came out of like studying the docs, getting Opus and GPT 5.4 to pit against each other. But then what I always do is that after I've implemented, tested it, iterated upon it, once it reaches a stage of maturity, when I've tested it, I've run it, I've fixed issues, I then release it so that other people can try it out. And that's what I've done for every single one of my skills that you see on VibeGameDev.com. And the colyseus-multiplayer skill is already there for people to use. And with this skill that I had, all I did was then just created a plan. And let me just show it to you here. Basically, I just said, use the skill to make our game multiplayer. I gave a couple of initial ideas of what I wanted. And then I also took into account things related to what happens when the game is over, do the rooms need cleaning up, and how do we handle anonymous users. And let me just show this to you in my Codex app right now. So here you go. This is the exact prompt that I used that you saw over there. I said, use the colyseus-multiplayer skill, which we were just talking about to make our game multiplayer. And then there were all of these things that I fed into it. And ultimately, it asked me a bunch of questions, which I answered. And based on that, it came up with this plan for me over here. And once I had this plan, it was pretty much it. You can see this capture command that I have over here because I always make sure I save all of the prompts, the plans, and the learnings as I go along. Helps me make these videos better and also allows me to share what I've learned with others. It chugged along for quite a while, but finally it came up with this first version over here. And with just that, I was actually able to get this running. So let me just show you how the workflow is, okay? So this is on the left-hand side, I'm going to start my client. So this will allow me to run the game. So this is what you were seeing just now. And then on the other side, I have a server folder over here. And then all I have to do is just npm run dev. It will start the Colyseus server. And then you can see it's running on 2567. And then I open two clients. So you can hear multiplayer. And I click on Samurai. Okay. And so you can see it's saying that it's matchmaking right now, waiting for another fighter. So I'll click over here. I'll click multiplayer. And I'll be a samurai. Okay. And you can see this is the latest version that I had once I added some polish, which I'll talk to you about. But I was able to get to this stage here where it was already running with Colyseus and the positions were synced. The players were actually able to attack one another. And I actually had the minions in the game during that time. But I found that it just made multiplayer very complicated and it wasn't that fun. And this was also before I fixed up a lot of the issues. But effectively, my point here is that that was all I needed. One plan and then a couple of small fixes that allowed me to get to that stage already. And that was a really amazing stage to be able to get to. Being able to effectively get my single player game running in multiplayer was really good. All right, so now that we've got our multiplayer working locally, the next thing that we want to do is effectively get this deployed onto the web so that you can share this game and get others to play with it. All right, so this is the front end of the game. This is actually quite simple. I just use Vercel to effectively connect my GitHub repository to it. And then it just basically deployed the game as we see over here. And this is now live on the web at this domain. And you can see it has both single player. All right, so you can play the single player mode if you wish. But if not, you can also play the multiplayer one and it will just kick off the matchmaking over here. All right, so this is how you get to this stage. And you will notice that I removed the map editor as well because it doesn't make sense for this web version to have a map editor because there's only a single level for now. Now, the interesting thing is that how do you get the server running? And let me just show you how it works. If I jump into here, this is the locally running game that you saw just now. So this is how you would run our front end. This side is the front end. And this was what we ran for the server. So now we just want to be able to run this on the cloud somewhere. Don't forget that Colyseus is actually open source. So technically you could just run this server on your own private server, your own VPS on AWS, GCP, or anything like that. You can just check the doc over here. Say deploy anywhere. You can just self-host this yourself. And it's actually really easy. It even gives you all of the information that you need to get this Dockerized, put this on AWS, etc., etc. Now, in order for me to get going, I actually just skipped all of this and made use of Colyseus Cloud. And this is just Colyseus's like platform offering. So if you were to skip all of your own setup, or you never set up a VPS yourself before, you have no idea how to work with virtual machines, you can just go ahead and use Colyseus Cloud. And it is not the cheapest, obviously, compared to self-hosting, But the Colyseus Cloud platform was actually really simple to use, all right? All you had to do is just pick where your location is, and then you can choose what plan you want. I just used a very basic plan over here. And then all you have to do is you just connect your GitHub to your cloud account. And under build and deploy, you just have to specify the root directory of where your server is. I'm just going to just end this for a while. I'm in the server subdirectory, and that's where the server lives. So I just have to set this over here. And then all you need, after you set this, you will need to get hold of your deploy CLI token key. And then you will also want to add this deploy key to your GitHub repository as well, so that your Colyseus CLI will be able to deploy your code that's living on GitHub. Okay, and that's pretty much all you need to do. And what you get as a result of it is that you get stats of your running server, and you will also have other things like looking at the logs running. So it's all in one platform. It's just really easy for you to get started. And then all you need to do is just go into your command line, run this command, npx colyseus cloud deploy. You just hit this off, and it'll take all the server code, and then it will just kick off your deployment. It just takes the latest changes, and then it just deploys it over onto the web. And once this is done, you can just head on over to this. And you can see I'm just going to head on over here. So I'm matchmaking, and this is the live version. And what I'm going to do is that now I'm going to open the second browser that you see over here. And I'm just going to connect and just make the screen a bit smaller. And I'm going to choose the Archer. All right, and there you have it. This is now live running on the web. It's no longer running on my local machine. And everything is going and working fine. Okay, all right. So this is all you need to do, and it's already running. And you can just share this link with anyone, and they'll be able to matchmake with you. All right, so that's the deployment stat. But once you get this up and running, you will start to see some issues, right? Because the initial implementation will be quite naive in terms of how the game will run. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the initial version was very laggy. Sometimes people were sliding all around, and people were asking like how we could deal with this. Was it to do with the server location? And in some ways, yes. But the main thing that you want to understand here is that you want to actually improve how this game works. And I'll give you a quick understanding on the optimization technique. There are a few things that you want to keep in mind. So the main thing is that you want to not make the server the authority over everything, all right? Because if you make it authoritative over everything, for example, the positions, if you look at this here, right? I'm playing the game here, I'm pressing left, I'm pressing right. If I have to get the server to confirm the position and send it back to me on the client every single time, and waiting for that response before I actually show it to the player, is going to be very laggy. But at the same time, you don't want people to cheat, right? Because if somebody hacks the client, they can basically teleport your player anywhere in the map and effectively do some kind of aimbot. So the way that you want to do this is very simple. I just use this prompt, and that already improved a lot of things. But aside from the prompt, the main concept that you want to look at is that you want to do what you call client-side prediction or movement prediction on the client side. This means that if a person presses a key, it's very highly likely that they're going to go there, and you just make the character move immediately. All right. Animations played on the client side. There's no reason that the server needs to verify animations. Sound should be played, and you should always keep a copy of the level on the client side if you don't expect it to change. All right. And all the server really does is that it just validates positions and hits and collisions and the game state. So if the game is over, it should really be over for both players, right? Positions of the players should be verified, and if there's a mismatch, what you will do is some kind of interpolation. So it will like move the player back. So just for example, if the player is jumping around and maybe there was like some latency or whatever, and the server actually says, oh no, they're actually meant to be here, rather than snapping them back, you can interpolate it back. And usually this gives you a pretty good result already. But ultimately, this is what you want to do. This is the prompt that I use, and this is where you can just tweak things along. And like I said, this is probably a more advanced topic, but you can actually work with AI and just use these kind of concepts, and you'll be able to get to a really good result. And that's exactly what you've seen here, and it's working on the web, and you can play it. There's a lot more things that you can do to make it even better, but I think it's a really good shape. All right, so I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Give it a like, hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on notifications so that you'll always be the first to know when new content like this drops. And if you want to look at my entire game development process, starting from a game idea all the way to the single player version of this game that you saw earlier in the video, you definitely want to check out my previous video that you see over here. I outline my entire process as well as all the resources that you need to be able to create a game just like this. All right, so till next time, I'll see you.